cheap paradise, beautiful beaches, friendly people, perfect backpacker country. Yes, but also chaos, noise, crazy traffic, culture shock, scams, humidity, and moments that make travelers question why they even came. If Vietnam can feel this overwhelming, why do so many travelers end up calling it their favorite country in the world? Do people really love traveling to Vietnam? Vietnam might be one of the most confusing countries on Earth, because almost everyone who visits seems to say the same thing. You have to go. And yet, the first few hours there can feel completely overwhelming. You expect peaceful beaches, cheap food, relaxed vacation energy. Instead, you land in Vietnam, walk outside, and suddenly feel like reality hit fast forward. Thousands of scooters, honking everywhere, people moving in every direction. Crossing the street suddenly feels like a life or death decision. Seriously, the first time I saw traffic in Vietnam, I genuinely thought, there is absolutely no way I'm surviving this. But here is the strange part. The chaos that scares people at first becomes one of the reasons they fall in love with the country. Before we continue, comment below. What country gave you the biggest culture shock? And if you enjoy brutally honest travel videos that show the real experience, hit like and subscribe. Because the truth about Vietnam surprised me more than I expected. The first shock happens immediately. Nobody really prepares you for Vietnam. Not properly. Online videos make it look smooth, peaceful, almost cinematic. Then you arrive in either Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, and suddenly, everything feels intense. The streets are alive. Scooters flood intersections. Street vendors call out. Tiny plastic chairs somehow become restaurants. It feels messy, fast, chaotic, and honestly, a little stressful, especially when you try crossing the road. Because in Vietnam, crossing traffic feels completely broken, at least at first. Cars rarely stop. Scooters seem endless. You freeze, panic, wait for a perfect gap, and realize that gap never comes. Then you notice locals doing something strange. They simply walk, slowly, calmly, predictably, and somehow, traffic moves around them, like water flowing around rocks. It feels impossible, until eventually, you start doing it too. And weirdly, you stop being scared. That is when Vietnam starts changing you. Because Vietnam quietly teaches something important. You cannot control chaos. You learn to move with it. But traffic is not the biggest surprise. The money is. Vietnam feels shockingly cheap. Until it doesn't. One reason travelers obsess over Vietnam? Money goes far. Really far. You can eat incredible meals for prices that feel unreal. Coffee costs almost nothing. Hotels can feel unbelievably affordable. Street food feels almost unfairly cheap. And this creates a dangerous illusion. People assume everything is cheap. Not true. Tourist traps exist. Airport taxis sometimes overcharge. Tour prices suddenly jump. Foreign pricing happens. Luxury hotels get expensive fast. Vietnam rewards smart travelers, not careless ones. Even with mistakes, many visitors leave feeling like they spent less than expected. But the real reason people become obsessed with Vietnam? It is not price, not beaches, not hotels. It is food. And honestly, Vietnamese food might ruin food back home. The food is almost annoyingly good. This sounds dramatic, but ask travelers about Vietnam and watch what happens. Suddenly they become emotional. People miss the food, like genuinely miss it, because meals here feel different, fresher, lighter, more alive. Herbs everywhere, flavor everywhere. Street stalls serving dishes perfected for generations. Tiny restaurants somehow making food better than luxury places. You sit on little plastic chairs wondering, why is this random street meal better than expensive restaurants back home? That happens a lot. A bowl of pho suddenly changes your expectations. A crispy banh mi somehow becomes unforgettable. Then comes grilled dishes like bun cha. And somehow, even coffee feels different. Especially egg coffee. Which sounds strange, until you try it, and realize Vietnam somehow turned dessert into coffee. The weird part, many travelers return home trying desperately to recreate these meals. Most fail, because somehow, food tastes better in Vietnam. But here is something most people do not expect. Vietnam does not feel like one country. It feels like several countries combined. Vietnam changes completely depending on where you go. This surprised me a lot, because Vietnam changes constantly. The north feels different. The center feels different. The south feels different. Hanoi feels traditional, busy, historic, chaotic. Meanwhile, Ho Chi Minh City feels faster, more modern, more energetic. Then suddenly, you visit Hoi An, and everything slows down. Lanterns glowing at night. Beautiful streets. Almost dreamlike. Or maybe you go to Ha Long Bay, where giant limestone cliffs rise from the water like something from another planet. Or Sapa, where mountains and rice terraces feel completely different from city life. This variety surprises people. Vietnam constantly changes, and that keeps travel exciting. But there is something travelers almost never prepare for: the weather. And honestly, it can ruin your plans. Vietnam weather can betray you. People think, tropical country, warm all year, easy. Wrong. Vietnam weather is weird. One city feels boiling hot. Another feels cold. Flood season changes plans instantly. Humidity drains your energy. Typhoons happen. Rain appears suddenly, sometimes brutally. You might pack beach clothes, then suddenly need jackets. Especially in northern regions, Vietnam rewards flexible travelers, not rigid schedules. And this leads to something interesting, because many people secretly hate Vietnam at first. Yes, really. Some travelers secretly hate Vietnam in the beginning. This is the truth nobody says out loud. Some visitors arrive and immediately feel overwhelmed. Too noisy, too crowded, too chaotic, too stressful. Culture shock hits hard, especially if they expected peaceful vacation vibes. But then something strange happens. Around day 4, or 5, or 7, suddenly, things click. You stop fearing traffic. You learn local rhythms. Street food becomes normal. Scooter noise fades into background sound. Chaos becomes energy. And somehow, you start loving the very thing that stressed you before. That transformation is weirdly common. In fact, many travelers leave Vietnam feeling emotional, because they did not expect to miss it. But they do. Badly. And that explains something fascinating. Why do so many backpackers visit Vietnam for 1 week, then somehow stay for months? Seriously. It happens all the time. People book short trips. Maybe 7 days. Maybe 2 weeks. Just enough time to see the highlights. Then suddenly, plans change. Flights get delayed. Routes get extended. And somehow, Vietnam quietly becomes hard to leave. Because there is something strange about this country. It gets under your skin. At first, it seems obvious why people love it. The lifestyle feels affordable. Food costs surprisingly little. Hotels and hostels can be incredibly cheap. Transportation is easy. Night buses connect major cities. Sleeper trains stretch across the country. And backpackers quickly realize something dangerous. Traveling here feels easy. Too easy. You can wake up in one city, and by tomorrow, find yourself somewhere completely different. That matters, because Vietnam never feels repetitive. Every region changes the experience. The north feels chaotic and traditional. The center feels slower and more relaxed. The south feels modern and energetic. One week you are walking through busy streets. The next, standing beside mountains or beaches that feel completely disconnected from city life. And somehow, adventure always feels close. That is part of the addiction. Vietnam constantly gives you something new. New food, new cities, new people, new stories. But surprisingly, the biggest reason backpackers stay longer is not the scenery. And it is not even the low prices. It is the people. Many travelers arrive expecting communication problems, awkward conversations, distance, maybe even frustration. Instead, they experience something unexpected. Kindness. Tiny family restaurants where owners remember your face. Locals helping tourists who look completely lost. Random strangers stepping in when directions become confusing. Moments of generosity that feel genuine, especially outside major tourist areas. Of course, let's be honest. Tourist zones are different. Scams exist. Overpriced taxis happen. Some places feel transactional. That part is real. But outside crowded hotspots, Vietnam often feels more authentic. And travelers notice that quickly. Because the country feels alive. Not polished. Not overly designed for tourists. Alive. Messy. Loud. Sometimes chaotic. Sometimes exhausting. Yet strangely unforgettable. That is what surprises people most. Vietnam is not perfect. You will probably get overwhelmed at some point. Traffic feels insane. Noise feels non-stop. Plans sometimes fall apart. And yet, those imperfections somehow become part of the story. The best travel memories rarely come from perfect moments. They come from unexpected ones. And Vietnam gives you plenty of those. So, do people really love traveling to Vietnam? Yes. But maybe not for the reasons you think. Not because it is flawless. Because it feels real. And once travelers leave, many secretly spend months thinking about going back. Because Vietnam does not just feel like a trip. For a lot of backpackers, it starts feeling like a lifestyle. You will probably understand why so many travelers completely fall in love with Vietnam. So now I want to ask you, would Vietnam be your dream trip, or would the chaos drive you crazy?